Hey, did you hear people are getting fed up with fake news? Me too. That's why I started this show. I'm here with comedian Dave Radis and Steph Samorano, and guess what? Turns out Google and Facebook take aim at fake news sites. Yeah, they've had it. Google kicked off the action on Monday afternoon when Silicon Valley search giant said it would ban websites that peddle fake news from using its online advertising service. Hours later, Facebook, the social network, updated. That's funny. That's in case if you just woke out of a coma from 2006, you're like, what's Facebook? Is that like MySpace? Yes. So isn't that funny? They have to explain it.
It's a social network.
The social network.
I thought it was the primary source for fake news.
He was driving a Corvette, the sports car. Updated language in its Facebook audience network policy, which already says it will not display ads and sites that show misleading or illegal content, to include fake news sites. On Sunday, the site this is kind of interesting. On Sunday, the site Mediaite reported that the top result on a Google search for final election vote count 2016 was a link to a story on a website called 70 News that wrongly stated that Mr. Trump, who won the Electoral College, was ahead of his Democratic challenger Hillary Clinton in the popular vote. So they're done with that. So that's why they're not. That's funny. And then the next day, that story had dropped to number 2. So Google, when you Google, boom, here's your first result. Here's your second result. And so they're going to try and stop that shit, but I don't know how they're going to do it. They have to do their new logarithms. But when they say fake news, Dave, here's my question. Do they mean fake news like this kind of fake news? Or do they mean like this kind of fake news? So the problem is the regular news is bullshit, and we know it. And that's why people get their news from YouTube, because it's bullshit. When they turn on MSNBC and they see the hosts on there sandbag a real progressive, they treat him like he's some kind of a communist crazy, and they embrace a corporatist warmonger who's going to lose to a clown because they stand up for no one. So that's why people come to YouTube for their news, because they know the news is bullshit, corrupt, and they're all part of the same group. They all go to the same parties. Well, those WikiLeaks emails reveal they all go to the same parties, and they don't tell you that they're going to the fucking parties like a real journalist would do, right? He'd keep his meetings with the most powerful people in the world a secret. So I guess they don't mean that kind of fake news, do they, Dave?
No, and Fox and MSNBC must just be shitting in their pants. It's terrified that Zuckerberg's going to shut them down.
I mean, I could have done this all day. I could have got headlines like that all day about everything, and there you go.
Like weapons of mass destruction.
And how about the New York Times? Remember weapons of mass destruction? They've got the aluminum tubes, Dave, right on the front page above the fold. What about, remember that? Oh, yeah. The whole run up to the Iraq War, the entire goddamn media would be considered fake news. So, about your fake news. It's all fake news, and that's why we're here. That's why you are at the Jimmy Dore Show. That's why you go to Kyle Kalinske. That's why you go to the Young Turks. That's why you check out Jordan Cheriton. That's real news. That's news you can trust. That's news you know. I don't have somebody breathing down my neck throwing money at me. You know that.
Yeah, the real news these days comes from comedians. That's where you got to get your news.
Yes, except when John Oliver tries to talk about... John Oliver said that the way to fight back against Don Tanahan's Trump is to go subscribe to the New York fucking Times. What an elitist, goddamn, out-of-touch thing to say. The New York Times was responsible for the fucking Iraq War. They printed the lies on the front page above the fold from Judy... Why can't I think of her last name?
Judith Miller.
Judith Miller.
And then Dick Cheney leaked it to Judith Miller. She printed it, and then he used what she printed as an excuse.
Look, the New York Times even says
they created their own reality.
And she was given that leeway in the New York Times. So that's a bad idea. Subscribe to the Young Turks if you want to fight. Subscribe to the Jimmy Dore Show if you want to fight back against the establishment. I saw Rachel Maddow do some of my favorite fake news this year. She brought on John Ralston to say that Bernie bros were throwing chairs in Nevada. Remember that?
Yes.
And that they were being violent. Yeah. I saw Rachel Maddow say that it was Bill Clinton didn't sign NAFTA. I saw that fake news. I saw a lot of fake news. out of Rachel Maddow this year over at MSNBC. You know, she makes more in a day than most people make in an entire year. You know how much money she makes in a day? She makes around $30,000 a day, right around there.
See, if I was making that, I'd work for 4 days and quit.
When I was still touring colleges heavy, Carrot Top. This is probably, I don't know, 15 years ago. Carrot Top was at one of the colleges I was coming to, and I said, "How much you guys paid Carrot Top?" They go, "Oh, he got $120,000." I go, "Oh man, if I could get that per show, I would work probably 2 days a year. I wouldn't be updating the act very often." Anyway,
Carrot Top is as good a source of news as the New York Times.
I mean, the Times, you can't trust the Times. I mean, after the Iraq War, after they what they did to WikiLeaks, you know, they were supposed to I don't have any faith in establishment media. That's my point. Anyway, make news.